Captain Marcus Webb had been in space for 30 years. He knew how stars looked when they burned. He knew how darkness moved and changed. He knew when something did not belong. Today, something was very wrong. The observation deck of the human station circled Earth's moon with steady movement. Marcus stood before the vast window that showed the black of space and the distant light of stars. His eyes moved across the darkness, looking for the thing that his mind told him was there. He could not see it yet, but he felt it. That feeling had kept him alive for 3 decades in space. "Lieutenant, run that scan again," Marcus said. His voice did not shake, but inside his chest, his heart beat faster. Lieutenant Kyle Palmer sat at the big control panel. His hands moved fast across the buttons and screens. Kyle was young, only 28 years old, and he had come from Earth 8 months before. He was smart and hungry to prove himself. He was the kind of officer that made Marcus believe in humanity's future among the stars. "Captain, I'm getting the same reading," Kyle said. His eyes grew wide. "There is something out there, sir. But it is like it does not want to be seen." Marcus leaned forward. In his 30 years, he had never heard of such a thing. The Galactic Council had taught humans everything. They had told humans about space travel only 10 years before. They had brought humanity into the greater galaxy and told humans that humans were young and not ready for the big wars and big problems. The Council thought humans were like children. They taught humans, but they did not think humans could really understand the danger in space. "Show me the spectral data," Marcus told Kyle. As Kyle worked, other officers came closer to watch the displays. Ensign Patricia Hill called up visual filters. She ran them through different colors of light that human eyes could not see. The station's sensors could see these colors. They had been built with old alien parts, tools that let humans see more than humans should be able to see. The image came into view on the screens. A ship, big, made in a way that no human ship was made. And it was invisible. "Todd," said Dr. Henry Foster. He was a scientist. He watched long-distance data. His hands began to shake. He moved the filters back and forth. "That is a warship. I can tell from the shape. And there are more of them." Marcus felt something cold move through his body. He had read secret papers from the Council. They said there were wars in space, wars between species that had been fighting for thousands of years. But those wars, the Council had said, were in the past. The galaxy was safe now. There was peace. "Sound yellow alert," Marcus said. "Open a channel to Earth. Get me Admiral Carson right now." The station began to move in a different way. Lights changed color. Officers began to work faster. Everyone knew what yellow alert meant. It meant danger was coming. Marcus could not stop thinking about one thing. The Council had shown humans how to look. But the Council had never thought that humans would see something the Council did not want them to see. Kyle kept watching the invisible ships. They did not move much. They just stayed out there in the darkness. Kyle typed on his keyboard and made notes about what he saw. He was a good officer. He stayed calm even though the danger was growing. "Captain, the ships are not moving closer," Kyle said after some time. "They are just floating there. Like they are waiting for something." "Waiting for what?" Marcus asked. "I do not know, sir. But they are not moving like they want to attack." Marcus went to the communication room. The officer there was busy. She was sending messages to Earth as fast as she could. Marcus knew that Earth would know soon. The secret would be out. There were invisible alien ships near Earth, and nobody on the Galactic Council had warned them. Dr. Foster came to Marcus. He held a paper in his hand. "Captain, I looked at the energy the ships are giving off. The way they move. The shape of their engines," Dr. Foster said. His voice was low. "I think these ships are very old. Very, very old. I think they might be from a war that ended thousands of years ago. How do you know that? Marcus asked. I read the old data. The council gave us some history books. Very old ones. There was a war called the Great War. Many species died in it. One species, called the Asheron, was supposed to be dead. Gone forever. But Captain, these ships look like the pictures in those old books. These ships are Asheron ships. Marcus felt the cold inside him grow stronger. The Asheron were supposed to be dead. The council had killed them in a war thousands of years before. There should not be Asheron ships. There should not be anything left of the Asheron. Are you certain? Marcus asked. Not 100%, sir. But I am very sure. Maybe 95% sure. Then we tell Admiral Carson about the Asheron. The council said they were dead. If they are still alive, the council lied to us. As the hours moved forward, more information came into the station. The invisible ships did not move closer or farther away. They just stayed in the same place. It was like they were waiting. Or like they were thinking about what to do. By the time Admiral Patricia Carson arrived at the station, everyone knew the truth. There were 7 invisible warships near Earth. They might be Asheron. They were very old. And nobody knew why they were here. Admiral Carson was a hard woman. She had fought in wars on Earth a long time ago. She had learned how to make the right choices when there was danger. She looked at the screens and at the data that Dr. Foster had put together. How are we seeing this? She asked. Our sensors are new, Kyle explained. He showed her all the data. When we use the ultraviolet light and infrared light at the same time, we can see shadows of the ships. The ships are invisible, but they give off heat and energy. The heat and energy make shadows. And the council does not know we can see them. Admiral Carson asked. No, ma'am. We have not told them. We have not told anyone. Admiral Carson was quiet for a long time. Then she began to smile. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who understood that everything had changed. Then we do not tell them, she said. Not yet. First, we need to know why the Asheron are here. Then we decide what to tell the Galactic Council. Get me full records of everything you know about the Asheron. And tell me who our best military officer is. Kyle and Dr. Foster looked at each other. They both knew the answer. That would be Captain Julia Hayes, ma'am, Kyle said. She is on the frigate Columbus. She is the best fighter pilot we have. She thinks faster than anyone else in the military. Then get her here, Admiral Carson said. And get me the files on Asheron weapons. If those ships come closer, we need to know how to fight them. Because I promise you this, those invisible ships are going to be very surprised when they find out that humans can see them. Captain Julia Hayes sat in the pilot's seat of the frigate Columbus. She had been in space for 12 years. Before that, she had been a fighter pilot on Earth, flying jets that could break the sound barrier. Now she flew ships that could break the laws of physics. She was good at what she did because she thought about problems in a way that most people did not. She did not think like other soldiers. She thought like a hunter. When the message came from Admiral Carson, Julia read it 3 times to make sure she understood it. There were invisible Asheron warships coming toward Earth. The Asheron were supposed to be dead for 8,000 years. But they were coming, and humanity had to stop them. Julia gave orders to her crew. The Columbus would leave its patrol route and head to the orbital station. The trip would take 2 hours. That gave Julia 2 hours to think. And thinking was what Julia did best. She went to the weapons room. There she found her weapons officer, a man named Derek Ross. Derek was nervous. Everyone on the ship was nervous. They all knew what invisible ships meant. Invisible ships meant you could not shoot at something you could not see. Invisible ships meant you could not defend yourself. Derek, I need everything you know about Ashran technology, Julia said. Ma'am, we do not have much, Derek said. He pulled up files on his screen. The council gave us some old data. The Ashran used energy weapons, like most species. Their ships were big and fast. They had shields that were supposed to be very strong. But this data is 8,000 years old. Technology changes. What does the data say about their stealth systems? Julia asked. Derek looked confused. Stealth systems? The Ashran did not use stealth. The Galactic Council killed them in direct warfare. The Ashran did not hide. The Ashran fought. Julia felt something move in her mind. A piece of information that did not fit. So if the Ashran that are coming toward us are using stealth, that means they learned something new. Or someone taught them. Or. Derek asked. Or these are not the same Ashran. These are Ashran that survived the war and have been hiding for 8,000 years. When Julia arrived at the orbital station, Admiral Carson was waiting for her. The Admiral was a woman who looked at you like she could see inside your head. She had made the hard choice many times. She had learned to live with the weight of those choices. Captain Hayes, the Admiral said, we need to talk about the impossible. Yes, ma'am, Julia said. The Ashran are coming in ships that should not exist. Nobody knew they existed. Not the Council. Not us. Which means somebody hid them. That is why I'm thinking, the Admiral said. I want to know everything. What are we facing? What can those ships do? How can we fight something we cannot see? They went to the observation deck. Kyle Palmer showed them the invisible fleet. 7 ships. Big ships. Old ships. Ships that have been sleeping in the darkness for thousands of years. The ships are in formation, Kyle said. He showed them the data on the screens. Military formation. The kind of formation you use when you are going into a fight that you expect to win. They move together like they have practiced this movement many times. Dr. Foster came into the room. He held a thick paper with many pages. Admiral, I have translated some of the old Ashram records. It is not good. Tell me, the Admiral said. The Galactic Council did not just defeat the Ashran in the Great War. They destroyed the Ashran. They killed almost all of them. The Council believed that they had killed every single Ashran that existed. But the data says that some Ashran ships escaped. They went far away from the galaxy. Very far. They built a hidden base. They waited. They planned. Planned what? Julia asked. Revenge, Dr. Foster said. The Ashran have been waiting 8,000 years for a moment when the Council was weak, when they could come back and take their revenge. And that moment is now. Admiral Carson walked to the window. She looked down at Earth. Millions of people lived down there. They did not know that the Ashran were coming. They did not know that their world was about to be attacked by a force that had been waiting for 8,000 years to have its revenge. How much time do we have? The Admiral asked. At their current speed, they will be in attack range in 18 hours, Kyle said. And our defenses? We have 3 frigates that can reach the intercept point, Julia said. She had been thinking about this since she got the message. The Columbus, the Alliance, and the Guardian. Each ship has weapons. But if the Ashran ships are invisible, we cannot use our weapons unless we can see them. Then that is our problem to solve, the Admiral said. Captain Hayes, you are the best military mind I have. Can we fight invisible ships? Julia thought about the problem. She thought about hunting. She thought about how hunters see things that others cannot see. She thought about how humans had always been hunters, from the beginning of humanity itself. Yes, ma'am, Julia said. We can fight invisible ships. But we have to think like the Ashran do not expect us to think. Explain, the Admiral said. The Ashran believe they are invisible. They believe that they have an advantage because we cannot see them. But there are ways to see things that are invisible. Ways that the old Asheran technology might not have been built to defend against. The Asheran are old. They have been hiding for 8,000 years. They might not understand how human technology has changed. Human technology is different. Human technology is new. The Admiral smiled. You are saying that new can be better than old. No, ma'am, Julia said. I am saying that human can be better than old. The Asheran are aliens. They think like aliens. We think like humans. And humans are good at solving problems in ways that aliens do not expect. Dr. Foster looked up from his papers. I can give you the thermal signatures of the Asheran ships. I can give you the radiation patterns they produce. If you can convert that information into weapons guidance systems, you might be able to shoot at them without seeing them. Do it, Julia said. I want every piece of data about those ships. I want thermal analysis. I want radiation patterns. I want everything. Because in 18 hours, we are going to show the Asheran that humans are not the easy enemy that the Galactic Council said we were. The Admiral put her hand on Julia's shoulder. Captain, those are warships. Real warships. Built for real war. Our ships are new. We have never fought a real war in space. Then it is time we learned, Julia said. Because the Asheran are about to teach us. As the hours moved forward, the 3 frigates moved into position. The crews worked as fast as they could. Scientists converted old data into new weapon systems. Officers made plans for a fight that nobody had ever planned for before. And Julia Hayes stood in the pilot seat of the Columbus, waiting for the moment when the invisible would become visible, and the hunt would begin. Earth turned below them. Millions of people slept, not knowing that their world hung in the balance. But the people on the 3 frigates knew. They knew that they were about to face something that the Galactic Council had thought was dead. And they knew that if they lost, Earth would burn. Dr. Henry Foster did not sleep. He sat at his desk and read old documents. He read about the Asheran. He read about the war that happened 8,000 years before. He read about how powerful the Asheran had been. He read about why they had been defeated. The Asheran had built ships that could destroy entire planets. They had weapons that could melt the shields of other species. They had weapons that could make a sun go dark. But they had lost the war anyway. The Galactic Council had combined the power of 7 different species. Together, they had been stronger than the Asran. Now, the Asheran were coming back. The data that Dr. Foster put together was bad. Very bad. The 7 ships that were approaching Earth had weapons that were at least as powerful as the weapons that had existed 8,000 years before. The Asheran had not stood still during their 8,000 years of hiding. They had built weapons that were stronger. They had built shields that were thicker. They had built engines that were faster. But the Asheran had one problem. They did not know that humans could see them. Captain Julia Hayes studied the data with cold eyes. The weapons officer on the Columbus, Derek Ross, showed her how the thermal signatures of the invisible ships could be converted into firing solutions. If the computer could see the thermal signature, then the weapons could be aimed. If the weapons could be aimed, then they could hit. It was not complicated. It was just a matter of making the old computer systems work in a new way. How long until we are ready? Julia asked. The upgrades will be complete in 4 hours, Derek said. We can test the system on small targets, but we will not really know if it works until we fire at the real ships. Then we test it now, Julia said. Launch the test drones. I want to see if we can hit something we cannot see. The test drones were small and fast. They moved through space at high speed. The Columbus's computers locked onto their thermal signatures. The weapon systems aimed. The guns fired. One drone went dark. It had been hit. "It works," Derek said. He sounded surprised. "Of course it works," Julia said. The Asheran did not know that humans could use thermal imaging like this. The Asheran technology is old. Our technology is new. New beats old when old is not ready for new. But as Julia watched the data from the test, she realized that hitting a small drone was different from hitting a big warship. The warships had shields. The shields would be very strong. The shields might be strong enough to stop the weapons that humanity had. She sent a message to Admiral Carson. The message said that the human weapons might not be enough. The message said that the frigates might not survive a fight against the Asheran warships. But the message also said something else. It said that humans would fight anyway, because humans did not know how to give up. Admiral Carson sent a reply. The reply said that Earth needed time. The reply said that every hour that the Asheran were delayed was an hour that Earth could prepare. The reply said that the 3 frigates had to fight, not to win, but to show the Asheran that Earth would fight. The reply said that sometimes, showing that you will fight is more important than winning. Julia understood what the Admiral meant. She was asking the frigates to die if they had to. She was asking them to buy time for Earth with their own bodies and their own ships. The global response on Earth was fast. The world had known about the invisible ships for only a few hours, but already people were preparing. Governments that had been at peace with each other for decades were now working together. Weapons that had been built for defense were being prepared for war. People who had never thought about death in space were now thinking about nothing else. But something else was happening on Earth too. Something that surprised everyone. There was no panic. There was no running. There was no chaos. Instead, there was a calm, hard determination. Humanity had faced danger before. Humanity had faced danger when humans were fighting other humans. Now, humanity would face danger when humans were fighting aliens. The 3 frigates moved into their positions. The Columbus was in the middle. The Alliance was on the left. The Guardian was on the right. Together, they made a triangle. The triangle was pointing at the approaching Asheran fleet. Julia sat in the pilot's seat and waited. The Asheran fleet was still invisible. The scanners could see it, but the human eyes could not. The Asheran thought they were coming to an easy victory. They thought that invisible meant invincible. They thought that humans were weak and would be easy to destroy. The Asheran were about to learn that humans were not what they had expected. The hours moved slowly. The frigate Columbus moved closer to the point where the first battle would happen. The crew worked in silence. There were no jokes. There were no nervous laughs. Everyone understood what was about to happen. Everyone understood that this fight would decide the future of humanity. Kyle Palmer was on the orbital station. He watched the invisible fleet on the screens. The ships were closer now, much closer. In a few hours, they would be in weapons range. In a few hours, the battle would begin. Kyle thought about his family on Earth. He had a sister. He had parents. He had people that he loved. All of them were down on Earth. All of them were about to be protected or about to be destroyed by the choice that Julia Hayes would make in the next. Few hours died, he sent a message to his sister. The message was short. It said that he loved her. It said that no matter what happened, he was proud to be human. The message did not say that he was afraid. Kyle did not want his sister to know that he was afraid. Dr. Foster watched the data on his screens. He saw the Asheran ships moving closer and closer to weapons range. He saw the frigates moving into position. He saw the moment coming when invisible would become visible and the old war would begin again. The Asheran did not know what was about to happen. The Asheran believed they were coming to destroy a weak species. The Asheran believed that the war would be easy. The Asheran believed that humans could not possibly hurt them. The Asheran were wrong. Admiral Carson stood in the communications center and gave her final orders. She told the 3 frigates to move into attack position. She told the orbital defense network to prepare their weapons. She told Earth to prepare for the worst. But she also told everyone that humanity would not be defeated by ghosts from the past. She told everyone that humans would fight. And she told everyone that if humanity had to die today, humanity would die fighting. The invisible fleet moved closer. The thermal signatures on the screens showed that the Asheron were preparing their weapons. The Asheron were about to attack. The Asheron had no idea that they were moving into a trap. The trap was not built with weapons. The trap was built with knowledge. The trap was built with the knowledge that humans could see them in 18 hours. The Asheron would learn that lesson. In 18 hours, the invisible would become visible. In 18 hours, the hunt would begin. And humanity would show the galaxy that humans were not what the Galactic Council had said they were. Humans were not weak. Humans were not children. Humans were dangerous. The invisible fleet moved closer. They did not move fast. They moved like a hunter that knows the prey cannot run away. The Asheron ships were massive. Each one was the size of a small city. The power that came from each ship was so strong that it made the air around it shake. But the humans could not see them. To the human eye, there was nothing there but empty space. But the computers could see them. Captain Julia Hayes watched the data on her screens. The thermal signatures were clear. The radiation patterns were clear. The Asheron ships were there. They were coming. And they had no idea that humanity could see them. Julia looked at the other 2 ships. The Alliance was in position. The Guardian was in position. All 3 ships had their weapon systems ready. All 3 ships had been upgraded with the new targeting computers that use thermal imaging instead of visible light. All 3 ships were ready to do the impossible. They were ready to fight invisible enemies. All ships, this is Columbus, Julia said into the communication system. We have target lock. Weapons are ready. Hold position and wait for my signal. The commanders of the Alliance and the Guardians sent back messages that they were ready. The messages had no fear in them. The messages had only the calm of soldiers who had made peace with death. The invisible fleet moved even closer. Now they were 1,000 kilometers away. Now they were 800 kilometers away. Now they were 500 kilometers away. The Asheron were still invisible. The Asheron still did not know that they were about to be attacked. Julia sat back in her pilot's seat. Her heart was beating fast, but her hands were steady. This was what she had been born to do. This was what all humans, in some way, had been born to do. Humans were hunters. And now the hunt was beginning. 14 more seconds, Derek Ross said. He was looking at the firing computers. 12 seconds. 10, 9, 8. The Asheron ships were in weapons range now. They were so close that the humans could feel the power of their weapon systems. The Asheron were about to open fire on the 3 frigates. The Asheron thought that the humans could not fight back. The Asheron thought that the humans could not hit what they could not see. 3, 2, 1, Derek said. Weapons free. Julia gave the order. All ships fire. The quantum displacement missiles launched from the Alliance and the Guardian. There were 6 missiles. Each one folded space around itself and jumped to its target point. There was no warning for the Asheron. There was no time to move. The missiles appeared inside the shields of 3 Asheron warships and detonated. The explosion was enormous. 3 Asheron ships became clouds of plasma and broken metal. 3 ships that had been invisible became very visible as they burned in the darkness of space. But the Asheron did not stop. They had been surprised, but they were not defeated. The remaining 4 Asheron ships activated their weapons. Energy beams the size of buildings cut through space. The beams moved toward where the human ship should be. Evasive! Julia screamed. The Columbus jumped. The jump drive worked perfectly. The frigate disappeared from its old position and appeared 300 kilometers away. The Ashran weapons hit nothing but empty space. The Alliance was not as lucky. One of the energy beams caught the frigate on its left side. The impact was incredible. The Alliance's shields failed. The ship's hull was torn open. The Alliance went into emergency lockdown, but the weapon systems were still working. The Alliance fired its weapons at the closest Ashran ship, even as it was falling apart. 4 Ashran ships remained. Julia's targeting computer locked onto the nearest Ashran ship. She could see its thermal signature. She could see where its shields were strongest and where they were weak. She could see the place to shoot. "Derek, fire everything," Julia ordered. The Columbus's weapons erupted. Missiles and plasma bolts flew through space. They were aimed perfectly. The Ashran ship's shields began to fail. The shields went dark one by one. The Ashran ship tried to move away, but it was too big. It was too slow. The Columbus's final missile hit the reactor. The reactor exploded. The Ashran ship became a ball of light and heat. 3 Ashran ships remained. The Guardian had been quiet. The Guardian's commander was a man named Brian Cooper. He had let Julia and the Alliance attack first. He had waited for the perfect moment. Now, he moved the Guardian between the remaining Ashran ships and the thermal imaging systems that were guiding the human weapons. The Ashran ships wanted to move toward Earth. The Guardian was in their way. Brian Cooper had chosen to die for humanity. The Guardian's weapons fired at the closest Ashran ship. The shots were good. The Ashran ship was damaged, but the Ashran did not care. 2 of their remaining ships turned and attacked the Guardian. The Guardian fought back. The Guardian's weapons were smaller and weaker than the Ashran weapons. The Guardian was only a frigate. The Ashran ships were massive. The battle was not fair. The Guardian knew it was not fair. But the Guardian fought anyway. The Columbus jumped again. Julia moved her ship around the Ashran formation. She attacked from an angle where the Ashran were not ready. The targeting computer locked on. The weapons fired. An Ashran ship's shields failed. An Ashran ship was hit by a missile at point-blank range. 2 Ashran ships remained. The Guardian exploded. Brian Cooper's ship had finally been hit too many times. The frigate broke apart in a ball of light. The crew was dead. The people on the Columbus and the Alliance saw it happen. They knew that they had just lost 200 good people. They knew that Brian Cooper had given his life to buy time for the human race. But Julia did not slow down. Julia did not mourn. Julia hunted. The Columbus jumped one more time. The remaining 2 Ashran ships were damaged. Their shields were weak. Their power systems were failing. Julia's targeting computer locked on. "Fire all weapons," Julia said. Her voice was cold and hard. The missiles flew. The plasma bolts flew. 1 Ashran ship was hit in the reactor. The ship went dark and began to fall apart. 1 ship remained. It was the largest of them all. It was the command ship. It had been the leader of the Ashram fleet. It had been the ship that was supposed to conquer Earth. Now it was alone. Now it was facing a single human frigate that had nothing to lose. The Ashran ship powered down its weapons. It was not a surrender. Not really, but it was a recognition of something that the Ashran had not understood before. The humans could see them. The humans could fight them. The humans could hurt them. The universe had changed. The invisible had become visible. And humanity was no longer a young species that needed to be taught and protected. Humanity was dangerous. Julia watched the remaining Ashran ship on her screen. She could destroy it. She had the weapons. She had the targeting computer. She could fire a missile and end this war right now, but she did not. "Send the message," Julia told the communications officer. Send it on all frequencies. What do you want to say? The officer asked. Tell them that they are defeated. Tell them that we see them. Tell them that humans are not what they thought we were. The message went out into space. And in that moment, the Galactic Council understood something that would change the galaxy forever. Humans could see the invisible. The meeting place was a station between Earth and the Asheran territory. The station had been built very fast. The Council wanted to understand what had happened. The Council wanted to know how humans had defeated the Asheran fleet. The Council wanted to know if humans were a threat. Admiral Patricia Carson sat across from the Asheran commander. The commander's name was Velkesh. He was a tall being made of something that looked like crystal. His body seemed to shine from inside, like there was light coming from inside him. He had been alive for 2,000 years. He had fought in 12 different wars. He had seen empires rise and fall, but he had never seen anything like humanity. Your species is very young, Velkesh said. He spoke in the calm voice of someone who had spoken to 10,000 different people. Your species has been in space for only 10 years. Your species should not be able to do what you have done. And yet we did it, Admiral Carson said. She did not smile. She did not show any weakness. She was sitting across from an alien commander whose people had just tried to destroy her world. She was not going to be friendly. She was not going to be weak. The Galactic Council taught your species to look at the stars, Velkesh said. But the Council did not expect your species to see what the Council did not want you to see. You made a mistake, Admiral Carson said. You taught us to look. You did not teach us to stop looking when we saw something you did not want us to see. That was your mistake. Velkesh was silent for a long moment. His crystal body seemed to glow brighter when he was thinking. The Galactic Council will not like this, Velkesh said finally. The Council has ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years. The Council has taught all the young species that the Council is in control. The Council has taught all the young species that the Council is powerful and strong. But now, a new species has shown that the Council is not as strong as the Council says it is. A new species has shown that the Council can be wrong. This is a problem for the Galactic Council. Then the Council will have to learn that the galaxy is bigger than it thought, Admiral Carson said. The galaxy is not just the Council and the species that the Council teaches. The galaxy has room for a species that thinks for itself. The galaxy has room for a species that does not need the Council to tell it what to do. Does this species want war with the Council? Velkesh asked. No, Admiral Carson said. We do not want war. We want peace. We want the same thing that every species wants. We want to be safe. We want to grow. We want to explore. We want to be treated as equals, not as children. Velkesh moved in the way that his people moved. It was like moving water, like his crystal body was flowing from one shape to another. I will bring your words to the Council, but I must warn you. The Council does not like change. The Council has been in control for so long that the Council has forgotten how to listen to people who question its authority. Then the Council will have to learn, Admiral Carson said. Because humanity is not going to stop questioning. Humanity is not going to stop looking. Humanity is not going to stop thinking for itself. The negotiation took 3 days. There were many arguments. The Council did not want to give humanity anything. The Council wanted to punish humanity for destroying Asheran ships. The Council wanted to show all the young species that rebellion would not be tolerated. But the Council had a problem. The Council did not know if it could defeat humanity. The Council had seen what humans could do. The Council had seen that humans could see the invisible. The Council had seen that humans could fight. The Council was afraid. Fear made the Council want to negotiate. The agreement that was finally reached was not a big agreement, but it was big enough. Humanity would be given a place in the Galactic Council. Humanity would have a voice when the Council made decisions. Humanity would be given access to technology that had been kept from humans before. Most importantly, the other species in the galaxy would know that humanity was no longer a child species. Humanity was a peer. Captain Marcus Webb stood on the observation deck of the orbital station. He looked down at Earth. The planet was blue and white and beautiful. Millions of people lived down there. Billions of people had been born and had died down there. And now, all of those people were part of something bigger. All of those people were part of a species that had its place among the stars. Kyle Palmer came to stand next to him. Kyle had not slept in 40 hours. His eyes were tired, but his face was happy. "We did it, sir," Kyle said. "We actually defeated the Asheron." "We did," Marcus said, "but not alone. Captain Hayes and their crew fought the real battle. The Alliance and the Guardian and the Columbus did the fighting. We just watched." "But we saw them, sir," Kyle said. "We were the ones who saw the invisible ships. Without us, the frigates would not have known where to shoot. We made the victory possible." Marcus put his hand on Kyle's shoulder. Kyle was right. The victory had not been because humans had stronger weapons. The victory had been because humans could see what other species could not see. The victory had been because humans had used their minds. Instead of just using their power. Dr. Foster was already writing the history of the battle. He was writing about how humans had defeated the Asheron. He was writing about how the Galactic Council had been wrong about humanity. He was writing about how humans were more than what the Council thought. Captain Julia Hayes was being called the greatest military hero in human history. She was being asked to give speeches. She was being asked to write books about tactics and strategy. But Julia did not want to do any of those things. Julia wanted to fly. Julia wanted to explore. Julia wanted to understand the galaxy in the way that only a pilot could understand it. The crew of the Alliance and the Guardian had been honored by the Galactic Council. They had been given awards and titles. But the awards and titles did not bring back the people who had died. The awards and titles did not bring back the 200 people from the Guardian who had given their lives to buy time for humanity. But those people would be remembered. They would be remembered as the people who had made humanity's future possible. They would be remembered as the people who had chosen to fight even when they knew they might die. On Earth, the reaction was complicated. There was celebration because humanity had won. There was fear because now other species would know that humans were dangerous. There was pride because humanity had survived. There was sadness because Earth had come very close to being destroyed. But most of all, there was change. The world was different now. Humanity was different now. Humans had been forced to grow up very fast. Humans had been forced to understand that the universe was not safe and peaceful. Humans had been forced to understand that humanity had to be strong. The Galactic Council watched what was happening on Earth with careful attention. The Council saw that humans were changing. The Council saw that humans were no longer content to be students. The Council saw that humans wanted to be teachers and leaders and explorers. And for the first time in 50,000 years, the Galactic Council was a little bit afraid of a young species. Valkash stood on his ship and looked at the reports about humanity. He thought about his 2,000 years of life. He thought about what he had seen. He thought about what humans represented. "The galaxy will never be the same," he said to himself. "The humans have shown that the invisible can be seen. The humans have shown that the impossible can be done. The humans have shown that new species can challenge old power. The age of the Galactic Council is ending, and the age of humanity is beginning." Marcus Webb still stood on the observation deck. He looked at the stars. He looked at the vast darkness of space. He looked at the place where humanity would build its future. And he smiled. because Marcus knew that humanity had just taken its first real step among the stars. Humanity had just shown that humans could see the invisible. And now, there was no limit to what humanity could do. The future was waiting. The future was bright. And the future belonged to humanity.